Nigeria is at home. Quiet meetings are happening. Strategic alliances are forming. And from parts of the North, a familiar argument is resurfacing. Power must return to North. But should it, and at what costs? Today on Fireworks, we are not dealing in whispers. We're dealing in truth. My guest is Shehu Sani, former senator, social crusader, outspoken northerner, and a man who has never been afraid to challenge power even when it comes from his own backyard. Together, let's interrogate the political game ahead of 2027. Is the push for a northern presidency about unity or entitlements? I am Eshomomo Imodu. This is Fireworks. We put them under check. Distinguished, nice to have you on my talk today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. This is 2026, and unfortunately, Rivers State is back on the political chessboard. Before now, the crisis in Rivers was between the state controlled by the PDP and the federal government controlled by the APC. Today, the state is controlled by an APC governor, the federal is controlled by an APC president. Now, how would you react to the recent impeachment notice given by APC lawmakers to an APC governor in Rivers State?
Thank you for having me back in your program for the umpteenth time. But first of all, it's very important that we understand the political context and concept which Rivers State operates. Now, Rivers State and the crisis in Rivers State is part of the political rumblings and crisis that always happen between a godson and a godfather. It has been in Nigeria's political history where a certain godfather uses his influence and resources to elevate his son to the position of political authority, and then he will in return demand for loyalty and other benefits. But each time a godson tried to rebel or revolt or pull out himself from those very fundamental agreements, non-conventional agreements, crises are bound to erupt. Now, Rivers State in the last 2 to 3 years has been through this, and we have had all these things happening in other states over the last 25 years. It's a fact on the ground that Wiki was 100% instrumental to the emergence of Fubara as a governor. If you go through the history, Wiki won the primaries for him and he won the general elections for him. But when you now pass through this process, and what Wiki was demanding was loyalty. Well, the point is that once a person assumes the position of authority or power as a governor of a state, he has levers of power with him, and you cannot dictate to him, you cannot manipulate him, you cannot play him around except if he wants to, despite the role he has played. And for Wiki, he ought to understand that he was once a governor who has spoken out against godfatherism. And he should not overstretch his control to the point that it will lead the governor to revolt against him. Now, what is happening in Rivers State is not about the people of Rivers State. It's about the control of political power.
Fubara, is it just about political power,
yes,
or the resources of the state?
When you control political power, you control the resources of the state. Fubara wants to assert his authority, his independence, and Wike is standing up against that. And the actions of the State House of Assembly is not that Fubara has done anything that breaches on the interests of people of Rivers State, but for the fact that he is going up against.
But they read out the misconducts, that he didn't present budgets and all that. So would you say it's...
Well, there will always be a smokescreen for that. If he was in good terms with his godfather, all this couldn't have come. We know it's politics. So you will always have a reason to justify another reason for doing something. So what is happening in River State is a war between Wike and Fubara. Fubara being a beneficiary of the benevolence and efforts of Wike, and Wike trying to assert his authority and control over a governor that has responsibility to his people. That is just...
And the line was, when this crisis started some years back, Fubara was a PDP governor. Wike was also a PDP ex-governor who also had an appointment in an APC federal government as a minister. Now, Fubara has defected into the APC, and so he's a member of the APC. So the fight now is no longer a PDP man who is fighting and an APC federal government that is being careful how to interfere. How would you expect that the APC should intervene in this? Several hours after this crisis, the APC is yet to make an official statement on the position in this crisis between Fubara and Nyesom Wike.
Well, you see, the APC as a party has found itself in a dilemma in which where you have at one side is a minister who has played an influential role to the emergence and victory of President Bola Tinubu as a minister and as a governor during his time. And on the other hand, you have a governor who is from a major ethnic group in the state and who is also loved by the people in the state and who has now pledged his allegiance to the ruling party. So all of them are all standing on a strong footing of loyalty to the president and the APC. So that is why it becomes so difficult. If you had a minister who is anti-federal government and anti-president, it will not be, it will be very easy for them to identify with Fubara. And if Fubara too was anti-president, anti-federal government, anti-APC, they could have aligned themselves with the minister. If you look at what happened the last time, the APC were aligning themselves with Winnie's minister, and even the speech of Mr. President, he was more or less hitting on the governor in support of the minister. But at this very time, when the governor has submitted himself to the ruling party, that is why the hesitation you can see. But I think the way out of it is still to go back to the drawing table and make peace, because if you side with Wike, you are going to irritate and instigate the people from the ethnic group of the governor, who are also in support of the governor and support of the president. And if you go against the Wike, he has control of state assembly.
Now, from what you have just said, let's put it side by side with what the National Secretary said. The National Secretary said, or National Secretary of APC said, governors are the leaders of the party in the various states. That is according to the party constitution. So this governor is the leader of the party in the state, and even the minister is not a member of the party. So, but the minister is saying that in Rivers State, the game is different. Rivers State is not about APC or PDP. It is renewed hope. So you don't have a political party per se in the state. That is what the minister is emphasizing. Now, what's your thought on this?
Well, Renewed Hope is not a political party. It is a theme of support groups for Mr. President. What you have as established organs and institutions are political party. And you cannot be in APC and PDP at the same time.
But you can have a rainbow coalition. So the minister might be right.
Well, coalition is not, you can't vote on a coalition. If you are going to, which party do you belong? You can only belong to one party. The minister belongs to the PDP. Fubara belongs to the APC. And if this problem have to be addressed, both of them have to be on the table again to resolve the problem.
Can this problem be addressed?
The president, the president still have to bring them back to address the problem. That is the only...
Okay, the president has to bring them back. Now, 2027 election is just around the corner. This is the eve of the election year. And yet, the INEC has not lifted the ban on open campaign, but you go all over the country. You see billboards. You go to Kefi, close to us, you see billboards, people already campaigning. You see people declaring, I want to run and all that, but it has not been lifted. Does that express the weakness of INEC? And does that also paint an indictment of the National Assembly that made that provision that there is a ban on political campaign? Shouldn't you just remove it? You just keep doing whatever you want to do without saying there is a ban and nobody is controlling it.
You see, the act that established INEC has vested so many functions for it instead of just conducting elections. If you want to have solutions to problems like this, is that you have to unbundle INEC. It should simply be a body that is statutorily concerned with organizing elections. But here is an INEC that has to focus on campaign financing, violation of electoral law. It has to register political parties.
Is that an excuse?
Yes, it is, because if you look at INEC as it is now, you said INEC should go after people who buy or sell votes when they are organizing elections. And INEC should also be in charge of registering political parties. And INEC should now go after people who are campaigning without campaign being lifted up. I think there's a need, looking at the situation which we find ourselves now, there's a need to decentralize INEC so that you have a body that is specifically concerned with electoral discipline. That is very important. INEC being in charge of that aspect, it must assert its authority and control. Because the way we are moving now in this country is that we have 4 years that a government ought to have operate. But you find out that governance only happened the first year. Second, third, and fourth year is all about contesting the next
We do
election.
have a National Assembly. Well, so if it is like that, why have they not amended it?
Let me get this through. If you don't have enough time for governance, the whole 4 years simply wasted on elections. That is why I said, if we have to use the authority of being elected into office to implement programs for the betterment of Nigerians, then there should be enough time and there should be no distraction. Elections, campaign for elections, and ambitions of politicians have become a serious distraction for governance. It's not only in Abuja, in all the states now.
So which means this system is not working. We need to fix the system, is that not?
We need to do more than that. There should be discipline on those who are campaigning without the campaign being lifted.
All right, distinguished, we'll quickly go on the break now, and when we come back, I will still be here talking about the polity and what we need to do as we gravitate towards the 2027 elections. Please just stay with us. You're welcome back. Now, if you've just been joining us, we've been talking about the game towards the 2027 election. And my guest is Senator Shehu Sani. And distinguished, we left off talking about the powers of INEC and why INEC would need to be unbundled, but everything still stops at the table of the National Assembly because that is the recognized legislative body. Now, but let's quickly move away from that. There's this insinuation in some quarters talking about you're a politician from the north. And this insinuation that it's time that power should return to the north. Some people still believe that it should still remain with the south. Now, this whole game of rotational leadership and all that, where do you stand in all this?
You see, constitutionally, every Nigerian is enabled to contest election at any right time. But we are a country that has been through crisis and problems. And our problems define our history in some ways. And politically, Nigeria has always been referred to in terms of North and South. It is morally wrong for any northerner to think of contesting election in 2027.
Why?
For the basic fact that a northerner has been in office for 8 years, from 2015 to 2023, and we have had 4 years of a southerner who is in power. So what we need to understand is that there must be a country before ambitions. And any politician who is patriotic and who has the interests of this country at heart should know that Nigeria is still a fragile country where there are landmines or matters of issues that are being raised about the lopsidedness of power. So from both the ruling party and the opposition party, they should consider Nigeria first, and that if Southerners are allowed to complete this 4-year term, Northern Nigeria, where I come from, now have the unchallengeable right to stand up and say in 2031, it's our turn to contest elections. Because when you rotate power, you give all parts of the country a sense of belonging, especially in a nation like ours, with history of regionalism, sectionalism, tribalism, religious bigotry, and whatever. Each time you transfer power to a certain section of the country, when it goes out of there, you hear silence. Now, Jonathan, for the first time, who came from Nigeria, emerged as a president of this country, from the South. And you can see how the emergence of Jonathan has been able to silence and calm issues in that part of the country.
But what you have
so to me, a northerner contesting election at this very time does not serve the unity, the peace and stability of this country.
But the opposition party, the Labour Party, will not agree with you. Just recently, your friend, Dati Baba Ahmed, declared to run for the presidency, and also former Vice President Atiku Abubakar from I think the ADC also wants to run. So they will say the opposition, they also have a right.
Yeah, you see, right is there, and I said it, if you recall, in the preface of my speech, that there is that constitutional right that gives you that power to contest any time. But take Nigeria at heart. Look at where we are. Look at where we need to be. Nigeria come first, and the only way for us to guarantee that is to make sure that all sections of the country are not marginalized in terms of being given the opportunity to prove leadership in this country. So Atiku, as a presidential candidate, he's an experienced politician, one that has been in trenches for a very long time, a man that I believe have the leadership qualities for Nigeria. But I believe that at this very material time, he should excuse his presidential ambition to 2031 and allow the South to complete its 4 years, so that there will not be any challenge to northern part of Nigeria in 2031 when it comes to our turn to contest elections.
Okay, let's quickly move to something that is also very interesting. And just recently, President Trump declared Nigeria as a country of particular concern. And he talked about genocide against Christians. And a lot of people have actually come out to express, even from the north, that look, it's not like that. Even from the Christian circle, it's not like that. Terrorism and banditry does not show face, whether one is a Christian or one is a Muslim. But also we saw recently, after the US came in to bomb some places in Sokoto State, we had some people in the north already protesting against President Trump and the US. Now, it seems as if there is an opinion coming out from the north that there is an action against them. You're a northerner, and do you think it was an action against the north or against criminals?
You see, in the last 15 years, the northern part of the country has come under sustained attack by terrorist groups. terror groups with names like ISIS, ISWAP, Ansaru, Darussalam, and Mahmudawa, Lakurawa have been killing our people. They have been kidnapping our people. They have been razing down our villages. They have been displacing millions of our people from their homes in northern part of Nigeria. And the states that have suffered more than any other states in Nigeria are namely Katsina, Kaduna, Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto, Niger State. That's in the northwest. And the second category, you have the Borno, the Yobe, the Adama. Now, all these states are majorly Muslims. So, people are not opposed to taking actions against terrorists. I'm very much support. I support that they should be eradicated, they should be annihilated, they should be eliminated, because terrorism poses a common danger to our survival, our unity, our existence as a people. But the narrative of Christian genocide was not done purposely to address the problem of terrorism in the north. There are other agendas which they must have had. And I can say that any person who lives in Nigeria, including those who are promoting the Christian genocide idea, knew very well that Muslims are killed as well as Christians. Where are the states that Christians suffer most? Benue and Plateau. And who are the majority in these states? They are Christians. Who are doing the killing? Terrorist organizations. Terror groups, whether it's Boko Haram, whether it's ISIS, whether it's Mahmudawa, Lakurawa, has no consent of Muslims in northern Nigeria. If you are a Muslim, you are much as a target like any other Christian. They kill people in the mosques, they kill people in the churches, they kill imams, they kill pastors, they raise the Muslim bridge. And for Donald Trump and his ilk to sit down somewhere and absorb a narrative of Christian genocide is really no good to the fight. And I was opposed to military strikes in Nigeria if it's unilateral. If the U.S. will wake up one day and say they want to bomb Nigeria. But I supported it because it was clarified that it's a joint operation between Nigeria and the United States. Okay. And that I am happy, because I will also say that if there is a joint military action between Nigeria and the United States, it's in the best interest of Nigeria. Okay, but then any other country, whether China or Russia, that wants to help us, they should also come. They should also come.
Now, but there's this northern leader, Shehu, who is making statements, and some of those statements is like, these are our brothers, you must learn to accommodate them and all that. Does that represent the thought of the side of the country you are from? And why is it that a lot of people have not come out against such an individual?
Well, first of all, I know Gumi as a brother and also as an imam. And he is not a terrorist. He was a man who was trained as a military officer and a medical doctor, for people who don't know who he is. But his views are views that I do not share with at all, because I do not believe in pampering or appeasing or pleasing terrorists that have been killing our people. And I do not think that his approach will solve the problem. But he's raising issues that there are other ways apart from bombing, which is about negotiation, about dialogue.
Do you negotiate with terrorists?
I do not think that these terrorists who are shedding the blood of innocent people and raising down our villages are people who will live by their words. And many times there have been efforts.
Just one last question, yes, because of time. 2027 election, will Shehu Sani still run, and under which platform or for which position?
Well, in politics, whatever you're going to contest and when you are going to contest will depend on the political equation in your own constituency. And I have a governor in the person of Abubakar, and my major interest, my priority is his re-election into office. He needs to be re-elected to continue the good work he's doing.
At the same time, when his election is going to hold, your own election may also hold. But which position do you want to go for?
Well, I have I'm already the governor because Obasani is a governor, so I'm not going to contest that governorship. He is doing everything for me.